Have you ever woken up to more hair on your pillow and wondered why your hairline seems to be retreating? Tonight's snack might be a bigger factor than you think. Stay with me till the end and drop your age in the comments so I can understand exactly who I'm guiding. Hair changes as we age can feel sudden and personal, but in reality, they often stem from subtle daily habits that quietly add up over time. One habit that often goes unnoticed is eating certain foods right before bed, especially heavy, salty, aged cheeses. This isn't about fear-mongering or blaming a single food. It's about understanding how your body works while you sleep. During sleep, your body shifts into repair mode. According to the NIH and Harvard Health, sleep is crucial for hormone regulation, tissue repair, and metabolic balance. Hair follicles are tiny living structures that cycle through growth, rest, and shedding phases. For them to function efficiently, they need steady blood flow, balanced hormones, and proper nutrient delivery. Deep, uninterrupted sleep supports these processes. Fragmented sleep, on the other hand, keeps stress hormones like cortisol elevated longer than ideal. And over time, this can influence normal hair cycling patterns. Aged cheeses are high in sodium and may contain naturally occurring compounds like tyramine, which can be mildly stimulating for some people. The Cleveland Clinic and NHS explain that late-night meals high in sodium can affect blood pressure, fluid balance, and sleep quality, particularly in sensitive individuals. This might lead to increased thirst, nighttime awakenings, or mild discomfort. Even if you don't fully wake up, lighter sleep reduces the time your body spends in restorative stages. These deep stages are when growth hormone release and cellular repair are most active. When this window is shortened repeatedly, recovery processes, including those that support the scalp, may not function optimally. Age also changes how your body reacts. Digestion slows, and sensitivity to heavy or salty foods increases. What might have felt harmless at 40 may disrupt sleep more noticeably at 65. The WHO and NIH highlight how aging alters inflammatory responses and metabolic regulation. While cheese itself doesn't directly cause hair loss, patterns that disturb sleep or increase low-grade inflammation can create an environment where hair regrowth is less efficient. Hair follicles are like tiny factories that temporarily pause production when the body senses imbalance. Blood sugar stability is another factor. When aged cheese is paired with refined carbs like crackers or bread before bed, subtle fluctuations in blood sugar can occur. Harvard Health explains that these swings may disturb sleep, leading to awakenings. Poor sleep then feeds back into stress regulation, creating a repeating cycle. Over time, repeated sleep disruption, mild stress elevation, and inconsistent recovery may influence shedding, especially in those genetically predisposed to thinning. This isn't about eliminating cheese or fearing food. It's about timing, portion control, and observing your body's response. Earlier evening meals, balanced nutrition throughout the day, regular sleep schedules, and stress management all support a healthy internal environment. The key takeaway from organizations like NIH, Harvard Health, Cleveland Clinic, WHO, and NHS is that sleep quality, metabolic balance, and inflammation regulation all work together to maintain tissue health, including your scalp. Small nightly habits can either support these systems or subtly strain them. Over months and years, these small differences may become visible. Hair grows in repeating cycles, and each follicle operates like a tiny biological clock. There's a growth phase, a transition phase, and a resting phase, and different hairs are in different stages at any time. Deep restorative sleep maintains the environment that supports these cycles. According to NIH and Harvard Health, sleep isn't merely rest, it's an active state where hormones, cellular repair, immune function, and metabolic balance are regulated. During deep sleep, growth hormone increases and energy shifts toward tissue repair, including hair follicles, which rely on stable internal conditions to thrive. When sleep becomes fragmented or shallow, the repair window your body relies on may not work as efficiently. The NIH explains that chronic sleep disruption influences stress hormones like cortisol. Cortisol isn't inherently bad. It regulates energy, inflammation, and immune responses, but when it remains elevated longer than normal, the body prioritizes essential survival functions over secondary processes like hair growth. Simply put, if the body senses stress, it temporarily diverts resources away from hair production. Repeated cycles of this over time may shift more hairs from their growth phase into the resting or shedding phase, increasing visible hair loss. One-off night won't cause permanent changes, but consistent patterns do matter. Sleep also supports metabolic stability, including blood sugar regulation and cardiovascular function. Healthy circulation is critical for delivering oxygen and nutrients like amino acids, iron, and zinc to your scalp. Hair follicles, supplied by tiny blood vessels, depend on steady blood flow to thrive. When sleep is repeatedly interrupted, whether by nighttime awakenings, discomfort, or dietary triggers, blood pressure and vascular tone fluctuate. The Cleveland Clinic notes that high-sodium meals or heavy late-night foods can increase awakenings or cause mild cardiovascular changes in sensitive individuals. Even small disruptions reduce time in the deepest stages of sleep, which are vital for physical restoration. The NHS emphasizes that sleep quality, not just quantity, affects overall health. Many people assume that being in bed for 7 or 8 hours is sufficient, but fragmented sleep can prevent full restorative cycles. Seniors are particularly sensitive, as aging naturally decreases the amount of deep sleep achieved nightly. Protecting sleep quality becomes essential. Late-night habits, like consuming heavy, salty, or stimulating foods, may interfere with sleep architecture, indirectly affecting the systems that support hair maintenance. Inflammation is another factor intertwined with sleep. The WHO and NIH explain that chronic low-grade inflammation becomes more common with age, a process sometimes called inflammaging. Poor sleep has been linked with higher inflammatory markers in multiple studies indexed on PubMed. Though inflammation is complex and not caused by one single factor, ongoing sleep disruption can create a less supportive internal environment for tissue regeneration. Hair follicles are particularly sensitive to these inflammatory signals. Even mild persistent inflammation may shorten growth phases or delay follicles' return to active regrowth. Aged cheeses, especially hard-cured varieties, blue cheeses, and processed cheddar spreads are flavorful and widely enjoyed. Yet, their nutritional profile makes timing crucial. These cheeses are high in sodium and contain naturally occurring compounds like tyramine, which forms as proteins break down during aging. Tyramine can mildly stimulate neurotransmitter release in sensitive individuals. In the evening, this matters because the body is meant to shift into a calm, parasympathetic state. Subtle nervous system stimulation can make deep restorative sleep harder to reach. The Cleveland Clinic notes that high-sodium foods contribute to fluid retention and nighttime thirst, prompting more awakenings. Even brief interruptions, fragment sleep, reducing time spent in slow-wave sleep, the deepest and most restorative stage. NIH and Harvard Health stress that slow-wave sleep is tied to physical recovery, hormone regulation, and tissue repair. Hair follicles, as highly active mini-organs, depend on stable internal conditions. If sleep is disrupted by dietary triggers like late-night heavy, salty meals, the hormonal environment supporting hair cycling may not function efficiently over time. The NHS also highlights that large or rich evening meals can cause mild reflux or digestive discomfort, which slows the transition into deep sleep. Aging can exacerbate this because digestion slows and the lower esophageal sphincter may weaken slightly. Even subtle symptoms, like slight chest pressure or throat irritation, can fragment sleep. Many seniors may not link these awakenings to what feels like a light snack of cheese and crackers. Yet, aged cheeses are calorie-dense and fat-rich, slowing gastric emptying and keeping digestion active when the body should be winding down. Sodium also influences blood pressure regulation. NIH research shows that sodium affects fluid balance and vascular tone. While occasional intake isn't harmful, eating high-sodium foods just before lying down may alter overnight fluid regulation. This can lead to nighttime bathroom trips or subtle cardiovascular activation, both of which disrupt sleep continuity. Harvard Health adds that even mild, consistent sleep fragmentation can elevate cortisol patterns, shifting the body's priorities away from non-essential functions like hair growth, especially in those predisposed to thinning. Another overlooked factor is pairing aged cheese with refined carbs, such as crackers or white bread. Research indexed on PubMed and Harvard Health studies indicate refined carbohydrates can trigger nighttime blood sugar fluctuations. This may provoke brief awakenings or restless sleep as the body rebalances glucose. Seniors are more sensitive to these shifts due to age-related insulin changes. While cheese itself doesn't directly cause hair loss, repeated disturbances in metabolic stability and sleep depth create an internal environment less supportive of optimal hair cycling. As we've seen, aging brings subtle shifts in how the body responds to sleep disruption, dietary habits, and metabolic changes. The WHO and NIH both emphasize that low-grade chronic inflammation becomes more common with age. While this inflammaging doesn't mean constant illness, it subtly affects tissue regeneration, including hair follicles. Poor sleep can worsen inflammation, and when late-night habits like heavy, salty, or processed foods interfere with restorative sleep, the scalp environment becomes less supportive of normal hair cycling. Hair follicles are highly sensitive to these changes. Even mild, persistent inflammation may shorten growth phases or delay follicles returning to active regrowth. It's crucial to understand that aged cheese itself isn't inherently harmful. Enjoying cheese can be part of a balanced diet. What matters most is timing, portion control, and observing your body's response. Selecting lower sodium, less processed cheeses, and consuming them earlier in the evening allows digestion to proceed before bedtime, reducing the risk of sleep fragmentation. Pairing protein with fiber in earlier evening meals further stabilizes blood sugar levels. Harvard Health explains that steady blood sugar reduces nighttime awakenings, helping cortisol naturally decline in preparation for sleep. Over time, consistent cortisol rhythms maintain a hormonal environment that supports normal hair cycling instead of pushing follicles prematurely into a resting or shedding phase. Hydration also plays a significant role. According to the NIH, adequate daytime hydration supports circulation and nutrient delivery to peripheral tissues, including the scalp. Moderating fluids just before bed reduces nighttime bathroom trips without compromising overall hydration. Improved sleep continuity enhances slow-wave sleep, the stage associated with growth hormone release and cellular repair. Since hair follicles rely on a steady supply of nutrients and oxygen, maintaining consistent circulation and hormonal patterns during sleep indirectly supports scalp health. Stress management is another critical factor. Chronic stress influences inflammatory pathways and hormone balance, as highlighted by both the WHO and NIH. Gentle evening practices like light stretching, controlled breathing, reducing screen exposure, and keeping a consistent bedtime can activate the parasympathetic nervous system. This shift promotes rest and repair, slows heart rate, stabilizes blood pressure, and allows cortisol levels to decline predictably. These physiological changes support regenerative processes throughout the body, including hair follicles. Movement during the day complements these strategies. Harvard Health notes that regular moderate activity improves circulation, insulin sensitivity, and sleep quality. Adequate circulation ensures that essential nutrients, such as amino acids, iron, and zinc, reach the scalp efficiently. Performing exercise earlier in the day rather than close to bedtime further aligns with circadian rhythms, supporting deeper sleep. A common mistake is focusing solely on supplements or obsessing over individual foods while ignoring broader lifestyle factors. Reputable health institutions consistently emphasize balance over extremes. Hair regrowth relies on cumulative lifestyle patterns, including steady nutrition, restorative sleep, stress regulation, and consistent daily routines. Adjusting meal timing, reducing high-sodium foods late at night, and supporting stable blood sugar can foster an internal environment conducive to healthy hair cycles. Hair health after 60 is rarely determined by a single food or habit. It reflects a combination of sleep quality, metabolic stability, hormone balance, circulation, and overall lifestyle consistency. When increased shedding occurs, it's natural to look for a single culprit. However, the NIH, Harvard Health, WHO, and NHS all reinforce that aging bodies respond to cumulative influences rather than isolated events. If aged, salty cheese has become a regular late-night snack and sleep feels lighter or more fragmented, adjusting timing instead of eliminating entire food groups may be the most practical first step. Observing how your body responds over several weeks aligns with actual physiology more accurately than abrupt, extreme dietary changes. Sleep quality remains central. Deep sleep stages correlate with growth hormone release, tissue repair, and immune regulation. Consistent bedtimes help stabilize circadian rhythms, which influence cortisol and metabolic processes. Repeated interruptions to deep sleep, whether from late meals, sodium-related thirst, or digestive discomfort, gradually reduce recovery time over months and years. This subtle reduction can impact tissues with high turnover rates, including hair follicles. Protecting sleep through lighter evening meals, consistent bedtimes, and calming pre-sleep routines aligns with NHS and Cleveland Clinic recommendations for older adults. Stress regulation complements these efforts. Chronic stress contributes to low-grade inflammation and hormonal imbalance. Persistent cortisol elevation shifts energy away from processes considered non-essential, and hair growth is one of them. Establishing predictable evening habits, dim lighting, reduced screen exposure, gentle relaxation encourages the nervous system to shift into parasympathetic dominance. This state supports cardiovascular stability, digestion, and hormone balance, indirectly benefiting scalp health. Consistency matters. Harvard Health emphasizes that stable daily routines maintain long-term endocrine balance more effectively than occasional drastic changes. Alongside hydration, circulation, and exercise, this approach creates an internal environment that is less inflammatory and more supportive of normal hair cycling. Many people react to hair shedding by panicking, cutting entire food groups, oversupplementing, or following extreme online trends. However, reputable health organizations consistently caution against drastic, unsupervised changes, especially for older adults with underlying health considerations. The reality is that hair health is less about single foods and more about cumulative lifestyle patterns. Steady nutrition, restorative sleep, stress regulation, and consistent daily routines all matter far more than temporary fixes. Late-night eating habits, particularly involving high-sodium, fatty, or processed foods like aged cheeses paired with crackers or white bread, can subtly disrupt the body's natural repair processes. Harvard Health and NIH research indicate that late meals high in sodium or refined carbohydrates may cause small fluctuations in blood pressure and blood sugar, triggering brief awakenings or restless sleep. Seniors are especially sensitive because aging reduces insulin sensitivity, slows digestion, and decreases deep sleep stages. Even mild, repeated interruptions over months or years can gradually affect hair follicles, which are highly metabolically active structures. Aging also shifts hormonal signaling. According to NIH and Harvard Health, growth hormone, sex hormones, and stress hormones, such as cortisol, naturally change as we age. Hair follicles are extremely sensitive to these signals because they are among the most metabolically active mini-organs in the body. When hormonal rhythms are stable, follicles remain in their normal growth phase for appropriate durations. When signals become inconsistent due to poor sleep, stress, or metabolic imbalances, more hairs may prematurely shift into resting or shedding phases. Cortisol deserves special attention. Chronic stress or disrupted circadian rhythms can elevate cortisol for longer periods than the body intends. Cortisol itself isn't harmful. It helps regulate inflammation, blood sugar, and immune activity, but persistent elevation diverts energy from non-essential processes, including hair growth. Repeated nightly stress, whether emotional or physiological, reinforces this signaling loop. Over time, these subtle but persistent influences may increase visible shedding, particularly in genetically predisposed individuals. Inflammation further compounds the issue. The WHO and NIH note that aging is associated with gradual increases in low-grade systemic inflammation. Poor sleep can exacerbate this effect. Repeated nightly disruptions, such as consuming heavy or salty foods, may contribute to a slightly more inflammatory internal environment. Hair follicles, sensitive to inflammatory signals in the scalp, may see their growth phases shorten or recovery slow. This does not mean one late-night snack will ruin hair, but patterns repeated over months or years can have cumulative effects. Metabolic health connects all these dots. Stable blood sugar supports hormone regulation, circulation, and nutrient delivery, all essential for hair growth. Harvard Health emphasizes that late meals high in fat, sodium, or refined carbohydrates can destabilize glucose levels, creating subtle but consistent challenges to metabolic balance. Over time, repeated disruptions can impact insulin sensitivity and vascular efficiency, which are crucial for delivering oxygen and nutrients to the scalp. Aging amplifies these effects, making consistent metabolic stability more important than ever. Digestive changes with aging also play a role. The NHS notes that slower gastric emptying and increased sensitivity to rich foods can keep the digestive system active when the body should be transitioning into restorative sleep. If the autonomic nervous system cannot fully shift into a parasympathetic rest and repair state, hormone release patterns during slow-wave sleep may be altered. Growth hormone, which peaks during deep sleep, supports cellular repair. Reduced deep sleep due to repeated awakenings or digestive stress may compromise tissue maintenance, including scalp support. This is why timing is so important. Aged cheeses, while enjoyable and nutritious, should ideally be consumed earlier in the evening. Portion control matters too. Pairing them with fiber and balanced protein can stabilize blood sugar, reduce stimulation, and support the natural decline of cortisol as bedtime approaches. Harvard Health and NIH emphasize that aligning meal timing with circadian rhythms enhances restorative sleep and creates a favorable internal environment for hair follicles. Hydration, daily movement, and stress management complement these dietary adjustments. Adequate daytime fluids support circulation and nutrient delivery to the scalp, while moderating intake before bed reduces nighttime awakenings. Regular daytime activity improves circulation, insulin sensitivity, and sleep quality, while gentle evening routines like light stretching, controlled breathing, and limiting screen exposure help the nervous system shift into restorative parasympathetic mode. Ultimately, hair health after 60 is about cumulative patterns rather than single factors. The NIH, WHO, Harvard Health, Cleveland Clinic, and NHS all emphasize that sleep quality, metabolic stability, hormonal balance, circulation, and lifestyle consistency work together to support follicles. Late-night meals, especially high sodium or processed foods, are just one piece of the puzzle. Timing, portion control, and observation are key to creating an environment where hair can maintain its natural growth cycle. By now, it's clear that hair health isn't determined by one single food, one late-night snack, or even one bad night of sleep. Instead, it's shaped by cumulative lifestyle patterns that influence sleep quality, metabolic stability, hormone balance, circulation, and inflammation. Recognizing this gives seniors the opportunity to make small, consistent adjustments that pay off over months and years. One of the simplest yet most impactful changes involves timing your meals. Large, heavy, or high-sodium meals late in the evening can subtly disrupt your body's natural repair cycles. Aging slows digestion, and the nervous system may struggle to fully shift into the parasympathetic rest and repair state if digestion is still active. This reduces time spent in deep, slow-wave sleep, the stage critical for growth hormone release, tissue repair, and cellular maintenance. By moving main meals earlier in the evening, seniors allow the digestive system to complete most of its work before bedtime, supporting uninterrupted restorative sleep. Cheese, particularly aged or processed varieties, doesn't need to be eliminated entirely. Instead, consider portion control and timing. Consuming these foods earlier in the evening, paired with fiber-rich options and balanced protein, stabilizes blood sugar, reduces stimulation from compounds like tyramine, and minimizes sodium's effect on fluid retention. Harvard Health and NIH research highlight that this alignment supports steady hormone patterns, helping hair follicles stay in their normal growth cycles. Hydration patterns also matter. The NIH notes that sufficient fluids throughout the day support circulation and nutrient delivery to tissues, including the scalp. Moderating water intake just before bed reduces nighttime trips to the bathroom, allowing longer periods of uninterrupted deep sleep. These extended periods are when hair follicles receive a steady supply of oxygen, amino acids, iron, and zinc, all necessary for normal cycling and growth. Stress management is equally important. The WHO and NIH highlight that chronic stress contributes to inflammation and hormonal imbalance. Gentle evening routines such as light stretching, controlled breathing, reducing screen exposure, and maintaining consistent bedtimes encourage the nervous system to shift into parasympathetic dominance. In this state, heart rate slows, blood pressure stabilizes, and cortisol naturally declines. These changes indirectly support scalp health by maintaining the environment hair follicles need to thrive. Regular daytime movement complements these strategies. Harvard Health emphasizes that moderate physical activity improves circulation, metabolic control, and sleep quality. Earlier in the day, exercise aligns with circadian rhythms, allowing deeper, more restorative sleep at night. Better circulation ensures that critical nutrients and oxygen reach the scalp, supporting hair follicle metabolism and maintaining growth cycles. Seniors should also observe individual responses. Everyone's body reacts differently to late-night foods, stress, and sleep patterns. Journaling how specific habits affect sleep and hair shedding over several weeks can reveal patterns that require adjustment. This approach is far more effective than extreme dietary restrictions or chasing quick-fix supplements, which often ignore underlying physiological rhythms. Cumulative adjustments, when done consistently, create an internal environment more favorable to healthy hair. The NIH, Harvard Health, Cleveland Clinic, NHS, and WHO all emphasize that sleep, nutrition, stress management, circulation, and metabolic balance work together to support hair follicle function. No single food or habit guarantees results, but aligning lifestyle with these natural cycles maximizes the body's ability to maintain normal hair growth. Finally, it's important to remember that age-related hormonal shifts, changes in growth hormone, sex hormones, and cortisol are natural. Hair follicles are highly sensitive to these signals. By focusing on sleep quality, stabilizing blood sugar, managing stress, and protecting circulation, seniors can create a stable internal environment that encourages hair follicles to operate efficiently despite age-related changes. In short, maintaining hair health after 60 is less about chasing a miracle product and more about cultivating consistent daily patterns. Timing meals, moderating sodium intake, observing individual responses, protecting deep sleep, managing stress, staying hydrated, and maintaining movement form a foundation that supports natural hair cycling. When these patterns are respected, hair follicles have the best chance to continue functioning within their normal growth cycles as the body ages. Now that we've explored the intricate ways sleep, diet, hormones, and lifestyle influence hair health, it's time to bring it all together into a practical blueprint seniors can use daily. Hair after 60 is less about miracle treatments and more about consistent habits that support the body's natural repair and growth cycles. Understanding the connections between late-night meals, sleep quality, stress regulation, and circulation can help you make informed adjustments that truly make a difference over time. The first pillar is meal timing and composition. Heavy, salty, or processed foods like aged cheeses paired with refined carbs can interfere with sleep, especially for those who are more sensitive due to age-related metabolic changes. Moving these meals earlier in the evening allows the digestive system to settle before bedtime. Pairing protein with fiber helps stabilize blood sugar, preventing subtle spikes and dips that could trigger awakenings. Over weeks and months, these adjustments support deeper, uninterrupted sleep, creating the ideal environment for hair follicles to remain in their normal growth phase. Next is sleep quality itself. Deep slow-wave sleep is when the body produces growth hormone, repairs tissues, regulates metabolism, and balances stress hormones. Seniors naturally achieve less deep sleep, so protecting these restorative hours is crucial. Consistent bedtimes, minimizing screen exposure, and calming pre-sleep routines help shift the nervous system into parasympathetic dominance, slowing heart rate, stabilizing blood pressure, and reducing cortisol. This internal environment supports scalp health and allows hair follicles to perform optimally. Stress management is equally vital. Chronic stress elevates cortisol and promotes low-grade inflammation, both of which influence hair cycling. Gentle evening practices like light stretching, deep breathing, meditation, or reading can significantly reduce stress signaling, helping the body prioritize repair over survival responses. By integrating these routines consistently, seniors create an environment where hair follicles remain active rather than prematurely entering resting or shedding phases. Hydration and circulation round out this holistic approach. Adequate daytime fluids ensure efficient nutrient delivery to tissues, including the scalp. Moderate physical activity, preferably earlier in the day, enhances circulation, insulin sensitivity, and sleep quality. Together, these habits support the delivery of amino acids, iron, zinc, and oxygen to hair follicles, fueling normal growth cycles. It's important to highlight that observation and individualized adjustments matter more than rigid rules. Everyone reacts differently to dietary choices, stress levels, and sleep patterns. Tracking how meals, hydration, or evening routines influence sleep and hair shedding provides actionable insights. Gradual changes are far more effective than abrupt, extreme measures like cutting entire food groups or overloading on supplements. The goal is creating a steady, balanced environment where hair follicles can thrive naturally. By aligning lifestyle with the body's natural rhythms, earlier evening meals, balanced nutrition, restorative sleep, stress management, hydration, and movement, you create